We tell you to wait until June 1st to decide whether or not your tree or shrub is dead. It's June 1st, actually later than that. So if you have something like a relatively newer shrub, these shrub altheas or rose of Sharon, and some pieces of it look like this, these are no longer viable. These are no longer alive, and it is time to go ahead and take them off. People ask us whether they can go ahead and prune and those will come back. The answer is no, that is not going to happen either. We have hydrangeas on standard and regular old hydrangeas, some of which also had dead branches in them. A lot of plants on standard this year, hydrangeas, roses, even some other plants, absolutely the top did not remain hardy and it is gone. And so they're going to come from the base. They're not going to be the same shrub at all. We're also seeing the same thing with a lot of older and established shrubs like these red twig dogwoods. They would have needed more moisture than they got. They're susceptible to disease if they're under stress. They're in an environment that's pretty tough. We have totally dead and we have partially dead but some decent foliage. Spirea, surprisingly, the big older ones in particular, were also showing a lot of that damage or much smaller foliage. Some lilacs, same thing, take out those older canes. Nine bark, a lot of the nine bark really suffered this year. So look at those older established shrubs. Imagine back to what kind of conditions they were in and what kind of care they received. That's likely why you're not seeing that growth on those. We're getting a lot of questions, of course, about conifers, spruce, fir, arborvitae, pines, all of those things that are evergreen in people's minds. This is a classic example now. We have people asking us, well, gosh, I'm seeing new growth on my spruce or my pine, and then all of these other twigs, and the question is, will this recover? The answer is no. If it's like this, it's a former branch. If it's like this and has just a little bit of growth on it, it's never going to turn back into what you want it to be. So cut your losses, cut your trees, start over. If it's smaller damage, just a branch or two, you can try to figure out where to go back to that dead tissue and cut that branch out. Maybe you'll get something that still approximates what you had in mind. Dead tops in trees are the most problematic. We've gotten a lot of calls about river birch, the word river, of course, being important. Occasionally an oak, like this upright oak, and certainly a lot of maples, especially the newer maples, not the big old ones. But if you look here, we just don't have a viable leader. We have a lot of side branches that are poorly attached to begin with. We may have some planting issues. This will never rejuvenate itself. It doesn't matter how long you wait. So it's time to get that out of there. Remember that if it is dead, you can do the scratch test. If there is supposedly green tissue under it, but it snaps, this is a former branch or a former tree. So give it up, get it pruned out, take care of those trees and shrubs properly, and hopefully we will not have the same sort of damage next year.